So, how do you balance your family life and your work life? Hi, my name is Yasser Khan, and I'm the author of Property Agent Secrets book, which is the most powerful book in real estate industry, guaranteed. So, a lot of agents, they're asking this kind of questions now that we are in a circuit breaker, and because of the coronavirus, we have semi lockdown. They're asking how to balance work and family life now that more ages, more people are staying at home. So, if you ask the expert, if you read books on this topic, if you, even do research or Google online, there are so many answers out there. And, some people say that, that is virtually non-existent. There's no balance between work life or family life, and there's no difference. And people can switch between work one moment and next to family life when they're working from home, especially, right? So, and other agents say that, seriously, if you're even asking this question, then the problem is that, you may not be enjoying your work life. You may not be enjoying your work. So how do you balance between these two extremes? How do you reconcile between these two ideas? So what's my take on it? Here's the thing, right? Okay, the single most consistent answer to this question has to do with habits. And whether you're in the habit of balancing or not, whether you are in balance or not, right? So people who can balance their life, who can balance all aspects of their life, you will find that they're very, 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 very consistent, right? And that directly has to do with this concept. How you do something is how you do every single thing. So people who are very, very organized, especially, for example, you find that table very, very neat and organized, you'll find that those are the people who are better in terms of balancing certain aspects. Like, for example, especially when they're working from home, they know how to prioritize work, and they know how to spend time, dedicate time for the family, right? So it all comes down to habits. And the thing about habit is that there are good habits, there are bad habits. And the bad habit is that you got no balance at all. You mingle work life with family life, and you get confused. So, for example, sometimes even I used to fall into this trap. For example, you know I, like, for example, there's some my favorite show on TV, and suddenly, all those years ago, I would find myself being pulled in by the show, and I will forget all about work, for example, right? So that is a trap that even I used to fall. So how do I overcome that? And the thing is that you got to dedicate. There are two ways to it. One is space, and the other is time. So the space aspect, the space answer is pretty straightforward, that you go have a dedicated space, dedicated workstation that you set up for, you buy a dedicated laptop just for work, and, at home, for example, and then you have a setup, and set up a connection with internet, and set up a cloud service and all that. How many people do is, every person has their own preferred way of doing it. So a workspace is a dedicated space that you use just for work. And some people, they even build a home office, and that's ideal, but not every person is able to do that, right? So for those of you who have dedicated space, then I think that solves the problem, pretty much 90% or 80% of the problem of mingling, right? You just shut yourself up in a dedicated space, and then you continue doing what you're supposed to do, and you find that you get more things done that way, right? And then if for those of you who don't have a dedicated space, what do you do, right? Then it comes into the area of timing, right? You got to observe for a few days. How can you observe your daily routine, right? You observe. Not only, the thing about routine is that you not only have to look at your own routine, you also got to look at your family routine, you also got to look at the routine of the children, right? So early on, I said that the mistake I made was I was frequently mixing work with family, and I got confused. Like, for example, when I have a favorite show on TV, then I would stay and watch it, And that's my flaw, right? All those years ago, and even sometimes nowadays as well. So how did I overcome that? Is that the thing that I realized that I wasn't paying attention to was the routine of my family, of my children. I knew my own routine, right? But the thing is that when I jotted down, what time they wake up, what time they sleep, what time my wife, need to do certain things, like meal times, for example, and rest time and play time, especially, right? So I wasn't taking note, and all this changed when I started documenting. And when I document, right, I kept careful notes of what time I wake up. And even, I mean, even nowadays, you don't even have to take notes. You just have to have an application on your smartphone, right? Just download an app on your smartphone, and it will tell you what are your waking times, how long do you sleep, what are you doing, right? Even especially in your home, right? You will do a breakdown of when you log on to Facebook, for example, how much time you spend on all that, and it will tell you, so I use a lot of tools like that, and that gave me a better idea of my own schedule, of my own routine, what I was doing, and where I could improve. So I saw all the holes there. I saw all the bad things which I was doing, and I knew what I had to get done, right? But because I hadn't factored in my family, their routine, my children's routine, and my spouse's routine, right? That is why the success wasn't ideal. But when I slotted in, when I found out, about my children, about my wife and all that, when they wake up, do the same thing that I was doing, and I could see a pattern. When I saw a pattern, right, then I realized that a specific timing worked very, very well. And because the thing about timing is also, earlier on I mentioned space, right? I also mentioned, right now I'm talking about timing, right? And when I understood about timing, I realized one more thing which I didn't mention: energy. So space, time, energy, right? So there is a specific time in the day when your energy is the highest, is the maximum, and in that maximum time, you get the most things done. Have you heard about the 80-20 principle? The 80-20 principle says that 80% of our time, our productivity comes from only 20% of activities. So you got to find those 20% of activity. When you do that, 80% of your work is done, 80% of your productivity is completed. So when I realized, when I analyzed, right, all the timing where I was spending on, I realized that 20% of all, okay, all the things that I was doing, right, uh okay, in the entire day, 80% of the productivity, that the productive stuff that I got done, was only done in 20% of the time. And that 20% of the time was done when my energy matched my motivation, right? My energy was the highest, and I could do the most things done. And when you are in your energy, right, when your energy is the highest, right, you are in the zone, and you can get things done. You got very few blockers. You got very few chances of not getting things done, because that's the time that your energy is highest. And seriously, that's the 80-20 principle in action. And when I found out, it was mind-blowing, mind-blowing thing for me. I realized what was the thing that was holding me back. And when I discovered that, right, I kept doing it again and again and again, and every single day I did that, and my productivity went up all the way. And by productivity, I mean, improving professionally, taking my business where I want it to go, working on my business so that I get less things done, yet I get more income, I get more customers coming in, and I'm able to serve them better. So that is what I mean by productivity. So the secret to balancing work and family is actually in these three things. The first is space, the second is time, and the third is energy. And that is how you do it.